Jess. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the vlog. If you've seen the thumbnail and the title, you know what today's vlog is going to be. I will be reading only vampire novels for 24 hours. Now, to make it clear, I'm not staying awake for 24 hours and reading. I will be timing myself on my phone and I'm going to see how much I can read in 24 hours. I've done this challenge a couple times before. I just think it's so fun. I always have a great time doing it and I always get so many pages read. And last year I did this for vampire stories specifically in, I think it was October, but I'm not sure. And it's just so fun. I love vampire stories. Vampires are one of my favorite supernatural creatures because of all the different types of stories you can tell with them. And it is October and I just want to read about vampires and get all of the October vibes, and I'm ready to go. So welcome to the vlog. Now, I don't have a specific TBR for this video because I'm just gonna kind of pick up whatever I'm in the mood for. I would like to read The Vampires of El Norte because I am super excited about that book, but I don't think I'm gonna start there. My plan to start with is Fledgling by Octavia E. Butler. I have never read anything by Octavia E. Butler, but this is a vampire story. I'm gonna be completely honest. I know nothing about this story at all. I couldn't even give you a synopsis about it. I got this novel because I just wanted to try something by Octavia E. Butler. This is not a series, it is a standalone and it is a vampire novel. So even though I don't think people really recommend starting here with her works, I decided that I don't care and it is where I'm gonna start with. And I think this is where I'm gonna start the readathon off. This is, I think, like 340 pages long, so it's nice and short. It should be a quick read and I should be able to get through it fast and start off this little readathon with a blast. It is my day off today, and whenever I do these, I like to try to get at least 8 hours of reading done on the first day. This will usually take me like 4 to 5 days over the course of the week to do, but I want to get as much reading done today as I can, just so that I can make sure I get this done in a week. I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go read Fledgling and I will talk to you later. What am I even reading? What am I reading? I don't like it. It's only like a half hour later. I am barely into this book, but why am I reading about like a grown adult man having sex with a vampire with the appearance of an 11-year-old girl? I hate it. I literally hate it so very much. Like, I just absolutely hate it. Okay, so the main character, basically, like the POV character, is a vampire, and she wakes up and she's injured and has no memory at all and is basically like trying to survive, and she doesn't really remember that she is like a vampire. She doesn't remember her name. She doesn't remember anything. When she first wakes up, she's like extremely injured and burned and like has like skull fractures and like she can't see. I think like her eyes probably got damaged, but she's able to like somehow kill some animals and like recover. So then she starts exploring around and she finds this road. So this girl, this vampire, is like walking down the side of the road, and I had originally thought, based off of like her internal monologue, that she was like a full-grown adult. Her internal monologue does seem like that of a full-grown adult, and nope, I was wrong about that. I was very wrong because this guy sees what he thinks is a child on the side of the road. So he stops and he's like, oh my God, like, where's your home? Where's your family? Can I take you to your parents? And she's like, I literally don't know anything about my life. And this man does genuinely seem like he wants to help her. Like, he tries to take her to the police or to like the hospital, and instinctually the main character bites him and is like, no, you cannot take me to the hospital or the police. And she's like not really sure why she can't go there, but like she just knows that like she's not supposed to. And so like she convinces this man after she bites him to take her back to his house, because he's like, well, I don't really know what else to do with you. And she's like, that's fine. But then she like bites him and drinks his blood, and he really, really likes it, which is normal for vampire stories. It is very normal in vampire stories, whether they are like romance or horror or somewhere in the middle, for there to be like some sexual component to the blood drinking. Like, that's fine. But like, why is she a child? Why is she a child? Why? I hate it so much. And like the main character is like, yeah, we could have sex if you want to. And he's just like, okay, it's a choice. It's a choice that was made. I do not understand why this choice was made. I am barely into this book, but I just had to stop reading and come update because like I hate this so much. Why is this the choice that you made? Does the main character need to be a child for some reason? I highly, highly doubt it. I really don't think so. So like, what is the purpose? Hi, it's me again. I have more things that I hate and I have to tell you about them. Okay, I'm like 90-ish pages into the book. This is how far I am. Not very far. It's only been like a couple hours. If you're wondering, in an adult fantasy novel, I tend to read like about a page per minute. I'm not like a fast reader, but I'm not slow. I'm very medium. Okay, so remember, I was talking about how the main character like woke up with injuries, literally doesn't remember anything, not even her own name. The main character is like very, very intelligent. She's very clever, but she has been able to like do some investigating around like the area where she woke up. She has now discovered her father, and I do have to say, like, we are getting a lot of world building in here. So apparently, like, the vampires who call themselves the Ina, they live, like, all of the men live together and all of the women live together. She found out that her name is Shori, and she is, like, slowly beginning to discover more about herself. She found this kind of, like, compound, I guess you would say. It's not, like, an enclosed thing or whatever, but like you could tell it was like a bunch of different buildings, like a bunch of houses together, and it had like all been burned down. And that is like how she tracks down her father, because she recognizes a scent there that she can tell is hers. And so like she returns and is able to like meet up with her father, and then her father takes her back and he explains like, yes, that's where you lived, and I was going to like visit there, because her father doesn't live there, but she lived there with her mother's plural and her sister's plural. She finds out like basically everybody that she grew up with and lived with is dead, and in this world, like, vampires are born, like, they're not created. Like, humans cannot be transformed into vampires, but they do need human blood to live. And so because of what happened, because Shori's all alone, her father's like, listen, you can't live with me permanently, because in this world, all of the men vampires live together, all of the women vampires live together. So like once boys are of a certain age, like they go and live with their fathers. But he is like, but you can come until we figure out like what's gonna happen to you. So she goes to her father's house, also bringing along this grown man, and he's like, oh yeah, you've been like sleeping with a grown man, that's fine. But here's what makes it terrible. Like, oh my, okay, there's so much that I hate about this. I hope that this is a coherent update. First of all, her father confirms that even though she is actually like Earth years That sounds so weird. It makes her sound like she's an alien. But like, she has been alive for 53 years. Technically, she is 53 years old, but she is still considered a child by their standards. So like, I don't care that she is like 53 and like the dude she's been sleeping with is like 20 something. Like, I do not care because she looks like she's 11, and also she's considered a child by the Ina people because they develop slower, they have much longer lifespans, so they just are children for longer. Like, her father specifically acknowledges that she is not physically or sexually mature. And her father specifically talks about this because he has to explain to her that she can stay with them for now, but the older she gets, she will not be able to stay with them for very long, because the closer she gets to reaching like sexual maturity, she's gonna start putting off pheromones and her brothers are gonna wanna bang her. And he's like, don't worry, we're intelligent. Like, that would never happen. We would never do that. But why do her brothers want to in the first? Like, it's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice. And, like, the fact that it's written canonically that she is not sexually mature, but yet her father is okay with her banging this grown man, like, and he's like, yeah, this isn't a big deal. This happens all the time for us. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Like, why? Why is that the choice that you made? And also, why will her brothers be sexually attracted to her when she reaches sexual maturity because of pheromones? Because, like, that, you don't have to make that choice. You don't have to make that choice. Obviously, like, in this world, vampires and humans are separate species. And so I understand that human anatomy does not necessarily equate to vampire anatomy. Humans in real life, though, like, we put out pheromones. And if you like sense the pheromones of your family members because like you live with them, that makes sense, right? You are repulsed by those pheromones. It is built into the human DNA to be repulsed by your family's pheromones so that incest doesn't happen. So like, why couldn't she put that into the world? Why is there like this weird threat of like, you can't live with us because your pheromones are gonna drive your brothers crazy? Like, why? It's so weird. And I also hate that like sexual relationships between human adults and vampire children is like approved and normal within vampire society. Like, I do not understand. I truly do not get why these choices were made within the book. If this were not an Octavia E. Butler book, I literally think I would just DNF it right now. But Octavia E. Butler is such a beloved author. I really truly want to keep reading and see if maybe my mind changes as we go through this. Like, I don't know, maybe by the end there will be something that I like about this. I don't know, we'll see. But right now, I just cannot believe the amount of bullshit. I am flabbergasted. I didn't think I would be pulling out the word flabbergasted today, but here we are. I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna keep reading and I will check in probably when I finish this book. Pray for me, please. Hello, we are 5 hours and 42 minutes into this 24 hours, and I have finished my first book. I finished Fledgling by Octavia E. Butler. 2 stars, and it hurts me to say that. I'm so very sad that I did not like this book. I mean, you guys saw how much I was struggling with it earlier, and I just honestly, what it came down to is I just can't get over like the creepiness of Shori being a child. In terms of the plot, I would say that I was like decently interested. The plot was good but not great. Basically, once Shori meets up with her father and starts to like get a grasp on like herself and what's going on, the plot moves basically into the direction of who went and burned down Shori's family's house and killed everybody in there. I also think it's really important to talk about the fact that Shori is essentially the first black vampire. In this world, vampires will pass out and be unconscious during daylight hours, and they cannot be out in the sun. It will like burn them, and if they are in it for longer than like a few minutes, they will die if they're not like covered up. And so Shori is essentially like the first black vampire, and as a result she can be out in the sun. It will eventually give her like a sunburn, but it won't kill her. And then she can also stay awake during daylight hours. So she really is an anomaly amongst the vampires, and it does become clear that like she is the target and the reason that like her family was attacked. It definitely is very significant to the story that Shori is the first black vampire, and it is very important to her as a character. There's definitely quite a bit of commentary in here about racism and ignorance and things like that. And so obviously, you know, I did like those conversations, but even with all of that and the strong writing, I just couldn't give this book more than a 2-star. I just can't get over how creepy everybody is to Shori and how it's just like portrayed as this normal thing. Eventually Shori ends up meeting like a ton of other vampires as well, including a family where her father had been like basically arranging for her to be mates with like these sons, because okay, like in this world basically all of the sons of one family mate with all of the daughters of another family, and like that is all arranged by the parents. And honestly, like I don't really have an issue with that. The issue that I have is that Shori, who is still a child by vampire standards, meets she meets all of the boys from like the family that her father had been talking to, but specifically one of them is like super into her. And they're like kissing and stuff. The only reason that this adult vampire doesn't have sex with this child vampire is due to extenuating circumstances that I can't talk to you about for spoiler reasons. Why? Like, why? Not only are like the adult humans pedophiles, but now you gotta make like the adult vampires pedophiles too? I just, like, I'm sorry, I need to chill because like it's honestly getting to me a little bit. I just truly do not understand the reasoning behind making these creative choices. And now I finished the book and I stand by the fact that I don't think Shori had to be a child. I think she could have literally just been a grown adult and this story would have been exactly the same, except there wouldn't be pedophiles in it. Even though I do acknowledge there is some good with this book, and I would still be open to reading something else by Octavia Butler, this is a 2-star for me. It's a miss, and I'm truly so very sad. Like I said, we're at 5 hours and 40 some odd minutes. I will be picking up book 2 of this vlog, which will be The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. This is a fantasy romance heavily featuring vampires. I'm already 103 pages into it. Honestly, at this point, I'm actually more in the mood for scary vampires than I am for sexy vampires, and this is definitely sexy vampires. It is a romance series. However, I've decided to pivot to this because A, I have already started it, but also if I read this book, then I will have finished this duology and also like be caught up with this series. For those of you who don't know, this is going to be a 6-book series, but split up into 3 duologies. So if I finish this, then I will have completed this series. You know, that is a goal that I have this year, is to wrap up the series that I'm in the middle of, or the series that I start. I just think it makes sense to move to this, and then perhaps we'll get in some good old-fashioned horror once I finish this absolute behemoth of a book. I think I'm gonna go make some coffee, and I think I'm actually going to put up a bunch of my Halloween and fall decorations. And I don't know, if I finish this book today, I'll do a check-in, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish it today with all of like the housekeeping stuff that I have to do, so I might not talk to you till tomorrow. Hello, good morning. First of all, I got my hair done. Can you tell? It's so much better. If I'm looking crusty, please ignore that. I just finished a really, really long stream. I'm here to give an update and also like some kind of bad news. I have failed the 24 hours. I didn't really fail. Like, I could technically continue this, but I was hoping to get this done this week, and unfortunately, it's my last day. I am going to visit my sister. I'm traveling to Connecticut, and I'm gonna spend like a little over a week there. I just underestimated how much shit I had to do in order to get ready for that visit, and so I just have not had very much reading time this week. I ended up ending this at 11 hours and 46 minutes because I did finish The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. This is hard to talk about because this is the conclusion to a duology, and really anything I will say is massive spoilers for this book. I'm gonna try to talk about this, but I'm gonna have to be vague. Basically, this is a fantasy romance featuring vampires, and in the first book, you follow Aureya, and she is... Why is my face so itchy? Well, I already look crusty, so it doesn't matter if I make myself look worse. You follow Aureya, and she is a human living in the vampire world. She is the adopted daughter of the vampire king. In this world, it's like very, very difficult to change humans to vampires, to turn them. Most of them die. So Aureya wants to be more powerful, but she doesn't want to like take the risk of being turned. So she enters this tournament, and if you win the tournament, like, you get a wish granted by you. So like, that is her plan, to get some power. And then when she's in the tournament, she meets Rain. There's a bunch of action, a bunch of people die, you know, the usual thing. In order to keep this spoiler free, I will say that one of the major plot points of this book after the tournament is trying to find an item left behind by one of the vampire gods. I enjoyed this. It read very quickly. I had a really good time. It's very fun, but I will say I think the first book in this series is definitely the strength of the series. So the thing is, like, the first book is like very tight. Like, the plot goes from A to B, and I mean, the plot won't blow your mind or anything, but like, it's very tight and like well constructed. I feel like this book compared to the first one was a little too meandering, and not like meandering in a fun, we're reading The Hobbit and we're on a quest sort of way, meandering in a way that feels aimless, like it doesn't really add anything to the story. I also feel like, due to the circumstances that Aureya is in the second book, I feel like she has lost some of her agency, and I genuinely think that there wasn't really a reason for that. Like, I understand the quote-unquote reason, and like, I get that, but I think that there were ways that you could have worked around that, because there's a lot of times where like Aureya is like finds out information, but she only finds it out because other people tell her, because they did the work to figure it out. And I'm like, you could have had the main character figure this information out. And then I will say that while the ending of this book is definitely satisfying from like a reader's point of view, I think that the ending is also like kind of convenient. Like, they get to the end and they do this thing, and then it's like, oh, the conflict is resolved. And I'm like, okay, I get it. It's a fantasy romance, but this would not resolve the conflict. I'm like, you would have to put some more work in here. So it does feel satisfying. I was not disappointed, but overall, I just think that this book is not as strong as the first one in the series. I do still recommend the series as a whole. It's fun. It's super entertaining. It's a really fast read. If you like vampires and you like fantasy romance, then absolutely check this out. But just know that I think the second book needed a little bit more time to cook. I definitely will be picking up like the second duology in this world. Like I said, this series is going to be 3 duologies, 6 books total. This is a blast. I had so much fun. It's very, very, very entertaining. I just think that it definitely could have been tightened up, and some adjustments could have been made to improve like the overall craft of the book. Still good. Still giving it 3 stars. Had a really fun time. Definitely recommend it. Okay, so I leave in a day and a half to go to my sister's house. I just am not gonna time myself when I get to my sister's house. Like, it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna be able to continue the 24 hours thing. I am going to bring the Vampires of El Norte, and I'm gonna bring Masters of Death. I don't think I'm going to get to both of them, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to read The Vampires of El Norte. So the vlog is not over. I'm just not going to be timing myself anymore. I'm just going to try to finish 1 or 2 more vampire books. Honestly, I don't know what the rest of this vlog is gonna look like. The next clips will probably be like B-roll of me at my sister's house. I'm not sure. I know for a fact that we're going to go to the Wolf Sanctuary in New York. I forget where it is. So if they let us film there, I will get some clips of the wolves. I don't really know what their policy is there. I just honestly don't know what the rest of this vlog is gonna look like. So I guess I'll just see you in Connecticut. Enjoy the following B-roll footage. I don't know what it's gonna be, and I guess I'll check in when I have something to say about the Vampires of El Norte, because that's definitely what I'm reading next.
Taking too long.
She was busy running into the wall. Ooh, oh, you got him good that time.
The gas lines
Yeah, on the sides.
yeah, but it kind of like someone in front that was able to get.
Yeah, suck on this, dum-dums.
Wait.
Uh-oh. The sack. Kind of fucked up, honestly. You're making him suck his own eyeballs out. What is wrong with you guys?
Hello everyone. I am back from my trip. I hoped you enjoyed the B-roll footage. I know I did 0 check-ins for this vampire vlog while I was at my sister's house. I'm just happy that I got to spend time around family. My brother and his wife were also there, so it was a really good time hanging out, the 6 of us, but I did finish The Vampires of El Norte when I was there. This book is great. I think it is so good. This is an adult gothic tale, and it is a little bit horror and a little bit vampires and a medium amount romance. And I didn't really know that going into it. I definitely thought this was going to be more like the Hacienda, which is Isabel Canes' first novel. That book was like 80% gothic horror with like 20% romance. This is probably like 60% gothic romance and 40% gothic horror. I also am not sure if most people picking up this book would realize that, because I definitely think this book was marketed more towards horror readers. Either way, like, I loved it. This book was a huge win for me. I really enjoyed myself here. There's just something about Isabel Canes' writing that is so amazing and decadent, and I love it. She just does gothic so well, and I am gonna read everything that she puts out. Like, it's so good, and I genuinely just think like she's just gonna keep getting better and better and better as she puts out more books. Like, this is only her 2nd novel. So in this novel you follow Nina, and when she was a teenager, her and her best friend, who honestly I forget his name now, they're kind of in that like awkward, we like each other, but like we grew up together and we're best friends, and like, but we're also sort of in love with each other phase. Anyways, they sneak out at night one night to try to find like some buried treasure. It's very cute, and a monster attacks and bites Nina, and oh my god, why can't I think of his name? Nestor thinks that Nina is dead, so he just runs away. He's like, my best friend is dead. The girl that I was starting to love romantically is dead. I have nothing left for me here. He runs away and just lives life on his own. Years later, Nestor gets a letter asking him to come back because basically the white people are coming down from America and they've already taken Texas, and now they're trying to push into Mexico, and they're like, hey, we need help so that these people are not going to just like take everything from us and like take our farms, take our land, take our cattle. So Nestor's like, well, I haven't been back since my best friend died, but I will come and help for this reason. This is important. And then he gets there and discovers that Nina did not die. And then as the Americans are starting to encroach and as conflict is breaking out, these monsters that attacked Nina are returning as well. And they are, as you can guess, vampires. First of all, if you like Gothic writing and you like Gothic romance, you should absolutely check out this book. The yearning and the pining was just fantastic. Nestor is so hopelessly in love with Nina, and Nina is so mad. And she's so dramatic, like truly so dramatic, like in the absolute like perfect Gothic way. From Nina's perspective, after she had like the most traumatic incident of her life, her best friend just like abandoned her. And she's very angry, but like also she is very much in love with him. And so like it's just dramatic and a little bit funny. And the yearning is so good. My biggest criticism of the Hacienda was that I just did not buy the little like romance in there. The romance in the Hacienda is very much like a subplot. It does not take up very much screen time. And I just did not buy the chemistry. But the chemistry in here is so good. I ate it up. The vampires are ultra creepy. I think it was really, really well done, and I definitely felt a lot of anxiety as certain things unfolded. I will say that just to avoid spoilers. I do, however, wish that it would have leaned more into the horror genre. I think that this book is not one that I would recommend if you were like, Jess, what is a scary vampire story? I don't know that this would be the book that would come to my head at the forefront. I think that like if you wanted me to recommend a Gothic story that has vampires in it, I would absolutely recommend this book. Like I do recommend this book to readers. I just wish that there was more vampires and more horror, I think. So I am still kind of looking for my like horror vampire story. I do really want to read a scary vampire story this year. I don't even know if I have a scary vampire story at this point. I'm gonna give this book 4 stars, and at the end of the day, I did really, really love it. I truly think that there is something so special about Isabel Canes' writing. Like really, there's something about it that just clicks with me, and I love it, and I cannot wait to see what she puts out next. She hasn't given me a 5-star book yet. I am still waiting for that, but like there's just something about her books that really stick with me, that I love. I think about them all the time, and like even though she hasn't given me a 5-star, I do kind of consider her to be a favorite author just because I just love her writing so much. I think she is so talented. Really, the only reason that I'm giving this book 4 stars instead of 5 stars is that I think the final conflict of the book with like the Americans and the Mexicans and the vampires, I just feel like that was kind of not satisfying. The conclusion of the novel, in terms of like the romance, which is the primary plot line, is very satisfying. So the overall ending of the book is satisfying, but the resolution of the action and the conflict is a little unsatisfying, and I can't really say why, but not enough vampire decapitations occurred to satisfy me personally. I don't know what that says about me as a human, but more decapitations would have raised this to a 5-star. So yeah, that's really my only complaint. Otherwise, other than just that resolution of the conflict, I think that this book is really outstanding. It is so close to being a perfect book. I loved it. I highly recommend this book. I definitely think you should check it out. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the vlog. I'm so sorry that I failed timing myself for 24 hours. I just bit off more than I can chew. If I have time in November or December, maybe I can make another attempt at this 24 hours thing, because I do really love those challenges. But either way, I had a great time in this vlog. I love vampires, obviously, and I really appreciate you spending time and hanging out with me today. Thank you so much for that. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I hope that you stay safe this week. I hope you are smart with whatever Halloween celebrations you have going on, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!